If there's one thing that you can expect from Bong Joon-ho, it is that his movies are going to be a scathing social or political commentary. But there's some mixed reviews for this one here, Mickey 17, and some of the reviews that I've seen seem to have a problem with the fact that it's, quote, too political. Personally, I don't think a movie can be too political. I think if art is doing anything correctly, it is a commentary on our real life. Let's take a look at Mickey 17 and see what we think. A gentleman by the name of Mickey who gets into some hot water with a loan shark. And to escape the loan shark's clutches, he signs up for a planetary expedition this takes place in 2050, by the way. And he signs up for a colonizing expedition to colonize this ice planet led by a deranged billionaire, not similar to any deranged billionaires in real life. The specific job that he applies for is called an expendable, where they have your genetic makeup and your memories backed up in storage. When you die, they just print out a new version of you, fresh within 20 minutes, with the same memories, with everything, and send you on your way. But the job of an expendable is to die. Like, they send you out to die in various ways. Things get a little turned upside down when Mickey 17, the 17th version of Mickey, does not die, and the company thinks he did die, and he has a run-in with Mickey 18. Mickey 18 has quite a different personality.
This was a cool watch for me. I mean, I do love most sci-fi things, so I'm probably a bit biased. There wasn't a lot to this movie on the surface level, I would say, but it definitely had pretty good stuff, not allowing yourself to be like just another number in the workforce and that whole sort of thing. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, this was a good movie. I didn't think it was a great movie, but I enjoyed it. There's definitely some subtle good stuff in there, like you're not sure really how, because the way he's talking is like, oh, if anybody ever sees that there's two of me, or they're going to melt me down and kill me. And then you see the interactions as he progresses, and like his girlfriend finding out that there's two of them, and she's like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
And everybody else that starts finding out, it's you tell a story that this is how it's going to happen, and then you see that and it doesn't happen. It's cool storytelling. So I liked it. Yeah, it's good.
I have a weird relationship with Bong Joon-ho now because, we made Marvin watch recently Memories of Murder, which is one of the best movies ever made. Oh yeah. And I love all his movies, but I think Parasite was the movie that really released him onto the American culture.
Yeah.
Like, he transcended that foreign film guy. And now I think everybody's looking for a movie like Parasite. I think as a follow-up, people were probably expecting Parasite was a banger. Parasite made a lot of noise, won the Oscars that year and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think
it was a different vibe.
It's a very different vibe. Yeah,
this is more funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as serious as Memories of Murder or Parasite. But it's got some good stuff in there. It's got some deep stuff.
Yeah, and it still does what he does best, which is that social commentary. So I think people just had maybe a little bit of a misconception of what they were going to be getting with this. And this movie is, like I said, a scathing review about just capitalism and corporatism and the relationship between the working class and the 1%.
The whole expendable thing was really creeping me out when you start to compare it to how corporations treat most employees, signing away your rights to simply exist. Very similar to me to how less fortunate people may sign up for the army just to get 100%. A check. And there's some colonization stuff in there too with the alien planet, obviously.
I love the casual nature and how expendable they actually are. There was crazy. One in the beginning when he's sort of giving you the exposition about how he got here and what he's doing. There's the quote of you're exposed to unthinkable levels of radiation right now, which is why we sent you out in the first place. We need you to tell us the exact moment when your skin starts to burn, when you can't breathe anymore. They're expendable beings in the movie society, but when they get reprinted and stuff, I don't know, I took it as highlighting the structure of our own society and how like you said, some lives are deemed less valuable and more easily disposable and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the
reprints.
friend who stumbles his way in out of everything. You know, Stephen Yeun's character, they just never really got in trouble for anything and always had a way out.
I love him. He's one of my favorite newer actors. Like, he's been great since The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I took the reprinting as kind of like when you're climbing up the corporate ladder, and you kind of lose a part of yourself every time you're reprinted. Just like every time you're like promoted or whatever, you might have to kind of ditch a little bit part of yourself to kind of just exist in this this weird corporate ladder, and like, you know, just put on the mask in a way to keep it going. Yeah.
I used to work at Geico. I've said a lot about how I used to work there. It felt like you just feel like a drone. You walk through the cubicles, going to your desk in the morning, and it's like everybody's like, "Hi, thank you for calling Geico. My name is so." It's like you're just trained to say the same thing and do the same thing day in and day out. And I had always felt, and I've always said this, like if you the feeling of not being valued is like, it permeates that place, and you know, just corporate jobs like it. The feeling that like if you died like in your chair, they would just like tilt the chair forward and you'd fall into like a pit, and then like another you would fall out of the ceiling. Like, I've made that joke before. Matter of fact, I should fucking sue Bong Joon-ho. This is my fucking idea. But yeah, no, that's like a real feeling you feel in corporate America, and like most jobs, really. It's like you're just not a valued member of the team, and then you take that on a deeper level in society. Like, there are members of society that are just not valued members of society. We're seeing it now with like these protests in LA that are ramping up as we speak because of like these fascistic ICE raids, and like they're going after people indiscriminately because they're quote illegals or whatever they are without any due process. They're snatching up people that are like fucking citizens of the United States. I expected this from our government, especially this particular administration. Bringing it back to the film, there are people in our society that are expendable, and it's the working class. There's also themes of identity and consciousness throughout the movie. Obviously, each Mickey retains the memories of the previous Mickey, and it creates this sense of continuity, that it's like always the same Mickey, just in a different body. It reminded me of Severance a lot, because it was a sort of like a different take of Severance, where like, you know, Severance, you have two different personalities, but we get to that point with Mickey 18.
Yeah.
Because Mickey 18 is completely different. They're starting to have their own experiences and perceptions of things like that. And so I think that is sort of central to the movie's exploration of what it means to be an individual. So it's very similar in that sense to Severance, just kind of done in a little bit of a different way. And he says too, when Mickey 18 pops up, he's like, "Oh, you know, Nasha told me that 5 was too needy, and like 7 was a little dumb," and like all this stuff. So like they all do each have a little bit of a different individual personality, but more or less they're the same person.
I didn't get why there was such a drastic difference between 17 and 18. I was reading, some people were thinking maybe it was because of how careless they were during the printing process of like, they're letting the guy like fall out of the thing, and then, you know, so it could have like glitched him out or whatever.
Yeah, he tripped over the cord when they were playing the card game or whatever.
I took from that as well, because they gave you enough to show you that like these techs are like the doctors and techs are like super careless. Yeah, they're pulling plugs out of his head, like you said. So it's like, you know, obviously you're not going to get like a perfect copy. I thought the cast was all really good. Yeah, they all played their parts well. Mark Ruffalo, Robert Pattinson specifically was very, very good, I thought. Yeah,
having to play like 17 to 18 is couldn't have been easy. We've seen other scenarios like that where it's like two completely different, and you're playing into the same movie. Like, every time dual characters are being played by the same person, it's always like pretty impressive. Yeah. And it was no different here. Like Severance, obviously, we've talked about a lot. Yeah, exactly. And all those people in Severance like are brilliant at that dual identity thing, especially the chick who plays Helly. Like she's like a totally different person as Helena. Yeah. We just saw Michael B. Jordan do it in Sinners.
And they
Dark
were
Matter does it.
That's
pretty
true.
well,
They were pretty different too in Sinners.
couple of things that I didn't care for. Like I thought the movie. So overall, I thought the movie was pretty good and pretty entertaining. But I thought the plot was better than the story. Like I didn't kind of really give a shit too much about the story stuff. Like
the story was predictable, really.
Yeah, like
when you figure out, oh, these animals aren't going to kill him.
Right.
These animals are going to be specific to the storyline at the end. This is,
It was kind of like a little, like, not, I don't want to say out of left field, but it felt like a different tone. Like, it just like it was a different type of movie at that point. Got a little bit wild, which is fine. Not a big deal. Ultimately, it led to where I would have wanted to see it go anyway, which was him like taking down this like big evil corporation thing or whatever the fuck was going on.
The animals bluffing the humans was funny, though.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Really gonna kill you.
Right. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. And I think the ultimate theme of the movie is like the threat of technology and like technology getting to a point where it threatens our very existence. And so I think like the human printing technology in the movie, they show how it's like pretty tumultuous in terms of like government officials are debating it and like some people are against it and it's like a moral issue. I think the human printing is like a metaphor for like the dangers of technology because when it's unchecked and used to exploit others, which it is in the movie, and like we're starting to see with AI, like AI in our real life is an exploitative technology. Like its learning models are built on plagiarism. Like they're stealing people's work and art for its own learning. So his final decision to destroy the machine, spoilers, represents maybe like a glimmer of hope that humanity can resist the technology that does threaten our very existence. Overall, good movie. I don't think it's the best in his filmography, but it's certainly not a bad movie by any stretch. I was surprised to see some of the mixed reviews on it. I saw some people complaining about the aesthetic of the movie. They said it was like ugly and cheap looking, but I didn't get that at all. I actually thought the aesthetic was really good. I liked how it was kind of bright and like poppy, but it felt cartoonish in a way. Like all the bright colors, like, but it worked really well with like the whimsical sort of wacky nature of the movie and like how it was told.
It was that whole pocket they were in with like the technology being wacky.
I liked the aesthetic. Overall, I liked the movie. I have more things that I liked about it than I didn't like about it. It has a 6.8 on IMDb. I would probably bump it up. I'd give it a 7.5.
I'd give it a little bump, I guess. And again, it was a little predictable, but it was good. Like you said, it touched on some interesting points, but
yeah,
it's probably just a 7. I don't think I'd give it anything more than that.
I think I probably would give this an 8, actually.
Okay.
I didn't have that many gripes with it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it didn't blow me away though, to where it's like, oh, this is just like a perfect movie.
Yeah.
It's a solid 8, yeah.
All right. That's cool. That's fair. I saw some of the comments about the movie, like they got mad that it's like political. They thought it was like a shot at Trump or whatever, which it's like, I guess it kind of was with like the red hats and shit at the beginning where like this dude had like his own.
I mean, his cadence was like Trump's cadence.
I thought his cadence was more like Elon, to be honest.
No.
You don't think so?
I definitely got more Trump, yeah.
And even if it is...
Even his tone, like, it was like that, like...
Even if it isn't like a cheap shot at Trump, art has always been a commentary on social, cultural, and political things. Like, that's what art does.
Right.
So I don't get this current trend of people being like, oh, fuck that, it's political. If art is doing its job, it is a commentary on life